Let's take you to basketball because down goes number 1 and number 2 for that matter, but we're going to focus on the Jayhawks. They battled Creighton last night. They suffered their first loss of the season, 76-63. Creighton, not the first time, though, that they have taken down a number 1 team. More on that in a minute, but there just must be something special about playing in Omaha that has Greg McDermott's crew on top. Here's what he had to say after the game.
Like I said, everybody was ready. Jason Green doesn't play the whole game, goes out, does a great job defensively. Everybody stepped up and did a great job when we needed them. And, what can you say? This is the building number 1 teams go to die, evidently.
Well, it's a new era of college sports, and that means we get to have some fun here on CBS Sports HQ. You guys at home may know him as the Big 12 preseason player of the year, but today we get to introduce him for the first time as CBS Sports college basketball analyst, Hunter Dickinson. So, Hunter, thanks for being with us. I hate to be the one to start this off, but we got to talk about last night. We just heard from the opposing head coach there talking about the environment. As someone who played in that game, just sort of take us through the difficulties of that rowdy environment and just what you saw and learned from that loss last night.
Yeah, playing in Omaha, it was a great environment. We knew it was going to be a great environment. Coach Self kind of brought that up pregame that, they're kind of known for their environment for sure. We knew they were going to come out swinging, especially shooting, because they kind of shot it poorly in Vegas. So we're kind of prepared for that. But obviously, we didn't guard the three-point line as good as we should have. We let them get too many open looks, and I think that's kind of what led to, us being, in the losing end.
In terms of your top 5 most difficult places that you've played in your college career, does Omaha crack that top 5?
I think it's hard to crack the top 5 just because there's places like obviously you got Allen Fieldhouse.
Sure.
Playing at home is just insane. It's pretty hard to doubt that. But if I'm going off of just other schools, Indiana, Michigan State, obviously those 2 schools. Being in the Big Ten, I think were really hard. I never won at Michigan State, so that's one thing I don't have. But also Iowa State, and Texas Tech in the Big 12. And then I got dark horse with Rutgers. Playing at the Rutgers was just super hard. I don't know why, but something about those rims, I feel like at Rutgers, they just have a really cool home court advantage. Yeah,
it's always those smaller schools that you don't really think about, that those fans, they just bring the energy, I guess. And Creighton, too, kind of, I don't want to call them a smaller school, but, this is the 2nd year in a row where they've taken down the number 1 team in the country. They did it to UConn last year as well. And they also have a player on their roster in Ryan Kalkbrenner. It was so fun to just watch you guys battle last night, dealing with injury. We didn't know if we'd see him play, and yet he comes out and drops a double-double. When you watch him, and even you're playing against him, this is a guy who has a lot of college basketball experience similar to you. What do you see out of his game that impresses you the most?
Yeah, I think it's really just, how they use him. I think Coach McDermott's a really good head coach. And obviously, him being a 7-footer, really skilled 7-footer, they put him in a lot of good situations. And I think having dynamic guards out there with Ashworth and Isaacs, they shot, the cover off the ball last night. I think they shot almost 50% as a team. And when they have that, it makes it hard on guys to really try to help and dig. Last night, when I caught the ball down there, they were really digging hard and really kind of almost pretty much double teaming me out there. But when you have shooters like Ashworth and Isaacs out there, that really stretches the floor for them. I think that kind of really makes them dynamic. He's able to work one-on-one and be able to have all that space down low.
The Creighton was going to take on UNLV this Saturday, so we'll see if they can kind of keep that same energy and spark going. Let's talk about another game, though, that is exciting on the schedule. Number 8, Purdue, is used to having the luxury of a 7-footer on their roster, but when they take on Penn State tonight, Hunter, not only will Penn State be the favorite, but Penn State will also be leaning on their own big man, the 7-foot sensation, Yannick Konan Niederhauser. Kind of a similar question here. As a big man, when you watch his tape, what stands out to you about how he's able to impact the game when he's on the floor?
I think the biggest thing that stands out about him is just his athleticism. I think that's something that, in the Big Ten, it's more physical, more grueling, and I think his athleticism really goes to, new heights, and I think that's something that Penn State is kind of using and utilizing out there. In terms of, like Purdue usually has, the big Zach Edey's of the world who he's sneaky athletic too, but I think this will really put pressure on their ball screen defense, with a guy who can really go up there and just catch blobs like that. I think really put pressure on their defense, but I know Coach Painter will have something for that.
Yeah, he's averaging over 14 points this season, 6.5 boards, and nearly a 70% shooting rate. Not bad. Hunter, I know you're a little new to HQ, but we kind of like to do this thing where we give everyone like their catchy little catchphrase or their little segment name. So we're going to give you one as well, too. We're calling this Hunter or Hunted. Shout out to producer Noah for coming up with this catchy little title there. So you're going to tell us if the team I mention is the hunter or if you think that they're going to end up being prey by the time the season rolls around. And we're going to get started actually with the SEC ACC Challenge. Everyone's talking about him. The freshman Cooper Flagg led the way for Duke as the Blue Devils picked up that big win over number 2 Auburn, 84-78. And this, of course, all came despite fellow All-American Janai Broome dropping 20 and 12 for Auburn. So, Hunter, as Duke turns their attention to conference play next week, they're taking on Louisville. Do they go into the ACC slate as the hunter, or will they be hunted in ACC play?
I think, being Duke, blue blood, having Coach K there and all the history and tradition that they have, I think they'll always be the hunted. You throw in a guy like Cooper Flagg, who's, consensus #1 pick in the draft. I think, every game they go into, even, when we played them in Vegas, we were the underdog on a neutral site as the #1 team in the country. And I think that just goes to show you that they'll always be the hunted. And I think they always have that target on their back going forward, especially in ACC play.
There was a moment on the broadcast, and I know obviously you didn't get to watch it in real time, but the broadcasters were just raving over Cooper Flagg, whether it was his shooting or that big hustle play at the end of the game where it essentially sealed the deal for Duke. When you're seeing what he is able to do, this in his first season of playing collegiate basketball, you mentioned it, the consensus #1 pick. What impresses you most about what he's doing right now?
I think the thing that's most impressive about Cooper is just, his versatility. He's able to affect the game in so many different ways and not just scoring. I mean, everybody talks about him scoring, I think it's like 17 points a game or something like that, but he can affect the game so many different ways, especially with his playmaking. They run a lot of sets for him coming off, 4 or 5 ball screens, which is really hard to guard, especially when you have a lob threat like Kaman down there. But defensively, his versatility, be able to switch 1 through 5, his length defensively, being able to come over and help side, block shots and rebound, I think just kind of speaks to him as a player and reason why, so many people have him regarded as, a blue chip prospect and probably the #1 pick in the draft.
Yeah, it's so great when they come as advertised, right? Because there was a lot of talk about who he was going to be, and he has been exactly what we expected him to be at the college ranks. He has been fun. Let's talk about UConn, Hunter, because they're finally looking like the reigning national champs. I know the Maui Invitational was not nice to them, especially for Dan Hurley. They get that big win over number 15 Baylor. Are the Huskies hunters or hunted?
Going off a tough Maui trip, it would easily be for them to be the hunter, but, winning 2 back-to-back national championships, even winning 1 national championship will make you the hunted, every game going out there. I think Coach Hurley has definitely got a target on their back, winning 2 national championships. And, it's something kind of like Kansas where, you're going to get every opponent's best shot, whether it's home or away. And especially in Maui, when you're playing 3 games with, no days in between to prep and, opponents are coming at you fast, it can be super tough and, kind of almost like when it rains, it pours type thing out there. They were able to get a big win at Baylor last night, and I think that'll kind of, propel them to do a little bit better. I think they played, worse than what they're capable of in Maui. And I think, Coach Hurley will definitely have them right for Big East play.
They will, of course, head to Texas this weekend. They're riding a 2-game win streak, holding on to that last spot in the AP Top 25. So we'll keep our eye on the Huskies. Now, Hunter, we know that the Big 12 runs through Kansas, but if we have to talk about another team, we're going to talk about number 6, Iowa State, because they're trying to make a case in the Big 12. We know they can play defense. Our Matt Norlander actually praised them for what they're doing offensively this year, just in terms of their improvements. Do you see the Cyclones as hunters or hunted in your conference?
I think if you would have asked me 2-3 years ago, I would have definitely had them being the hunter. But, now with them, with their defense and playing in Ames, I would definitely have them being the hunted. I think, having them, us, and Houston in that top 3 of the Big 12 preseason, I think goes to show you how well they've done. And, I think with them having that home court advantage really makes it tough for teams. Going into Ames, going into Hilltop, it's super hard to win there. And I think that's kind of makes them always a threat in the Big 12, and I think this year they're definitely the hunted.
Yeah, they've looked really good, and it's going to be crazy to see who gets into the field at the end of the season. It's going to be a fun year, I can tell. I do want to reserve the last few minutes we have here for you, Hunter. It kind of feels like you're in your villain era a little bit. I know the last time you were supposed to come on HQ, we had the ejection, so I just wanted to give you a moment here. Are you embracing the villain era here as you wrap up your college basketball career, or just kind of talk us through what others, I guess, are saying about you?
I think it kind of just comes with the territory. I mean, obviously, being in my 5th year here, being on a little bit older than, the rest of college basketball, it's just going to come with the territory. Like, you kind of, if you're going to shy away from, all the hate, then it might get to you. I think, kind of just embracing it, allowing, all the haters kind of just like water off your back almost. I'm so used to it now, especially, in my 5th year, I've kind of been, the focal point of my offenses pretty much since freshman year, and opposing fans know that, and they try to get under my skin. But I think just embracing it is probably the best option, and something that I've been doing past couple of years, and it's worked for me, and I don't think it'll stop anytime soon.
Well, I got to be honest with you, Hunter. Now that you're a media personality, you're going to get it twofold. You're going to get it on the court and what everyone says about you on social media. Oh, Hunter, this has been so fun. Thanks so much for hopping on HQ with us. You did great, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good luck this season. We'll continue to watch you here on HQ. Here's a look at the notable college basketball games coming up this week. We've talked about a couple of them. Of course, Purdue, Penn State. We'll have our eye on that one tipping off tonight. A very busy weekend, though. We talked about Duke at Louisville. That one kicking off ACC play for the Blue Devils. UConn going to Texas. And we didn't talk about Kentucky. They also lost this week, but they'll face Gonzaga in a top 10 showdown.